I was 10 years old when I experienced my first public speaking disaster. A summer camp director had asked me to memorize a long poem for a concert that I was supposed to recite that very evening on stage in front of hundreds of people. Now, I grew up in the former Soviet Union, so saying no wasn't really an option. I spent the entire day memorizing that poem while feeling absolutely terrified. So here I am, 10 years old, walking out into that giant, brightly lit, empty stage. I step up to the microphone. My heart is racing. My palms are sweaty. My legs are shaking. And every word I had memorized that day disappears from my mind. And I just stand there, looking out at the audience. And this is when I hear it. Giggles. Not just from one person, from everywhere. And so I did the only thing I was really capable of at the moment. I ran off stage in tears. That part stayed with me for a long time. The humiliation, the laughter, the bullying that followed in the next few days. Because at that moment, my brain learned something profound. The spotlight is where you get exposed, judged, and ridiculed. And so I told myself, never again. Fast forward a few decades, and now I teach public speaking for a living. Life has a funny sense of humor. Maybe you have never run off stage in tears, but so many of you know exactly how it feels like to speak with all eyes on you, and suddenly a little voice in your head begins to whisper, I'm going to mess this up. I'm going to make a fool of myself. They are going to realize I'm not as good as I think I am. And when this happens, most people hear the same advice. Just keep practicing, and confidence will follow. How many of you have heard this before? Right? I heard it too, and I tried to follow it. I practiced in school, in college, in my first job, in my first business, and for years, I kept waiting for all of that practice to finally pay off and turn into confidence. But it didn't. Practice helped me prepare. It helped me get through presentations. It did not make me feel safe when all eyes were on me. I did not become a confident speaker. I became better at speaking while hiding my anxiety. And for a long time, I thought something was wrong with me because this is what we are taught to believe. Practice makes perfect. And in a lot of cases, it's actually true. If you want to get better at piano or tennis, you practice, right? Practice is powerful. But there is a specific kind of moment when practice doesn't always work the way we think it does. A moment when all eyes are on you. If you are afraid of public speaking, every time you step into that spotlight, you reinforce the very fear you're trying to overcome. Because you are not practicing speaking with confidence. You are practicing speaking with anxiety. And to understand why, we need to understand how the brain works. Our brain is wired to protect us. Whenever it senses danger, it warns us by sending fear signals through our body, like sweaty palms and shaky legs, foggy brain. Those signals are not random. They are your brain trying to keep you safe. The problem is, the brain doesn't know the difference and responds to both real danger, physical danger, and perceived danger in about the same way. And for a lot of people, public speaking feels like a threat. So even though you may be not physically unsafe, your body still sends you the same fear signals. And that is why somebody can be really good at what they do. Know their material, prepare and practice for days, and still freeze the moment all eyes are on them. It is simply their body responding to the threat their brain perceives. And once your brain links public speaking with danger, for most people, practice alone will not break that link. In fact, it can strengthen it. Research on social anxiety helps explain why. When we repeatedly enter threatening situations while at the same time bracing for judgment and trying to hide our anxiety, our brain doesn't always learn that the situation is in fact safe. So if every time you speak, you feel nervous, you push through fear, you hope nobody notices, you are not practicing speaking. You are practicing the emotional state that comes with speaking. And you are creating a habit of feeling nervous every time you speak. And that's why just practice advice often backfires, because practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes permanent. So, what is the solution? It is not to practice more. It is to practice something different. The first step to overcoming public speaking anxiety is to stop focusing on how you feel, on yourself, and start focusing on the people in front of you. Now, of course, easier said than done, because in order for us to do that, we need to change what we believe public speaking actually is. Most people think of public speaking as a performance. The speaker is supposed to be impressive, and the audience is there to judge and evaluate. And if this is how you see public speaking, of course, it feels threatening. Because now, every face in the room feels like a judge, and you're trying to pass a test. But public speaking is not a performance. It is not a test. At its core, public speaking is a conversation. It is one human being sharing something with other human beings. And that shift changes everything. Instead of asking yourself, how do I sound? You begin asking yourself, what do I want them to walk away with? Instead of asking, are they judging me? You begin asking, how do I connect with them? And this is when your brain begins to learn something new. A presentation is simply being present. Present with your words, present with the room, present with the people who are listening. And that's when practice finally begins to work. Because you're no longer practicing self-judgment, self-monitoring, and speaking with anxiety. You're now practicing creating a genuine connection and having a conversation. If I could go back in time to that 10-year-old girl, here is what I would tell her. You're going to be okay. You were never afraid of speaking. You were afraid of being judged. But the people in front of you, they're not your judges. They're just human beings. So step into that spotlight and have a conversation with them. Because the spotlight was never meant to be a threat. It was never meant to be a place of judgment. It was never meant to divide us. It was meant to connect us, to bring us together. And maybe that's what it means to be human. Thank you.